How do you find focus in a world of endless distraction? I mean, it's the modern problem, right? It feels almost impossible to solve. But what if the answer was hiding in a 400-year-old text? Today, we're diving into a spiritual guide by a 17th century writer named Isaac Ambrose to see if we can uncover a timeless method for achieving a really powerful singular focus. Let's see what we can learn. So Ambrose kicks things off with this really powerful quote from the theologian Augustine. And Augustine was talking about the works of Cicero, one of the greatest Roman orators ever. And his point is kind of blunt. Even the most brilliant, amazing work feels empty if it's missing what he considers the one single essential subject. This really sets the stage for everything that follows, this idea that true focus isn't about juggling a dozen things at once, but about elevating one thing above everything else. All right, so here's our game plan for breaking down his guide. First, we're going to look at what Ambrose calls the most excellent subject. Then, we'll get into what he means by the key action, withdrawing the eye. We'll cover the 3 big distractions he warns us about, understand why he argues for such an intense focus, and then, the best part, we'll walk through his 5-step practical guide on how to actually do it. Okay, first things first, we have to start with the foundation of this whole philosophy, because before you can focus, you've got to know what you're focusing on. And for Ambrose, the answer was crystal clear. Ambrose doesn't just describe this central subject as one option among many. For him, it's everything. He uses these incredible, vivid metaphors: a sun to light your way, a physician to heal you, a pearl to make you rich. His whole point is that this one single subject holds the answer to every human need you could possibly have. It's the absolute center of everything, which, in his mind, makes it the only subject truly worth our undivided attention. So we've got our subject, but what does that phrase in the title, looking unto, actually mean? Well, the original language has a really crucial clue. It turns it from just a passive glance into a powerful, deliberate choice. And here it is. This definition is the core mechanic of the whole idea. See, it's a 2-part action. It's not just about looking at something. It's about deliberately looking away from everything else. The original Greek implies you're actively, intentionally pulling your gaze away from all the clutter to fix it on one single point. You can think of it like you're subtracting distractions to add attention. Okay, so if focus means we have to look away from things, the next logical question is, what are we supposed to be looking away from? And Ambrose is super specific here. He groups all the worldly distractions into 3 main categories. He says there are 3 great competitors for our attention. First up are what he calls sinful pleasures, chasing after that momentary high or gratification. Second, sinful profits, this obsession with accumulating more and more wealth. And third, sinful honors, that deep craving for status and for other people to approve of you. In his view, these are the big 3, the fundamental distractions that are always trying to pull our gaze away from what really matters. And to show just how pointless it is to chase these things, Ambrose gives us this fantastic image for worldly honor. He says it's like chasing a feather in the wind. I mean, it's hard enough to catch, right? But even if you do, what have you got? A feather, something light, fragile, and ultimately pretty insignificant. It's just such a powerful metaphor for his idea that these pursuits are an exhausting and unrewarding waste of our focus. All right, so we know what to focus on and what to look away from, but why? Why is this trade-off so important? Well, Ambrose gives 3 core arguments for why this singular focus isn't just a nice idea, but for him, it's the only logical choice. Ambrose basically lays out a clear cost-benefit analysis for where we put our attention. And it's based on these 3 comparisons. First, how long does it last? Worldly things are temporary, they fade, but his central subject offers enduring substance. Second, what's the experience like? He says worldly pursuits lead to thorns and vexation, while this focus brings joy and comfort. And finally, fulfillment. The world, he argues, can never truly satisfy you, but this one subject can, completely. And here's the crucial point. For Ambrose, focus is a zero-sum game. You can't have it both ways. He uses that classic line, "You cannot serve 2 masters," to make a really simple physical point. Your eye just can't look up and down at the exact same time. You can't be devoted to temporary things while also being focused on eternal things. You've got to make a choice. So this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? This is where Ambrose's work gets surprisingly modern. It basically turns into a 17th century self-help guide. He lays out 5 really concrete steps for how to train your focus. So here's his 5-step plan. Step 1. Study vanity. Basically, see worldly distractions for what they really are, temporary and ultimately empty. Step 2. Limit your contact with those distractions. The less time you spend with them, the less power they have over you. Step 3. Deepen your knowledge of your main subject. Make it more interesting and compelling than the distractions. Step 4. Meditate on the big picture, on eternity. That helps shrink your worldly problems down to size. And finally, Step 5 is all about knowing your own limits. This final step is to just ask for help. Ambrose pulls this prayer right from the Psalms, and his point is that shifting your focus isn't just a matter of willpower. It actually requires you to admit that you need help to pull your eyes away from the constant pull of all those distractions. So it's an act of both discipline and humility. So let's do a quick recap of this 400-year-old guide to focus. It all starts with choosing one supreme subject. Then, the act of focusing is really about actively withdrawing your eye from everything else, especially from the big three distractions of pleasure, profit, and honor. And why do this? Because that one subject is more enduring and way more satisfying. And to wrap it all up, Ambrose gives us that practical 5-step plan to actually make the shift happen. So Isaac Ambrose pointed to one ultimate subject as the key to a focused life. 4 centuries later, we are surrounded by an infinite number of competitors for that top spot. And that kind of leaves us with a tough question for our own lives, doesn't it? In a world that is constantly pulling our attention in a million different directions, what is the one thing that's truly worthy of your focus? What's your enduring substance?